I tell you what, King of the Hill gets fun when the likes of the bar team jump in and open up this game to the larger lobbies. This one has 30 players. We're back on Raptor Crater during nap time, so I'm turning down my voice while we turn up the heat in the King of the Hill with AllReasonNoLogic's OGs sharing the King's role for the first time since we started this weekly ritual many weeks ago. Tank Tom, Pradeth and I team up with 4 other Kings to take on 22 peasants. Quickly noting the rules, air is turned off. There is a 10-minute no-rush timer for the crater, and at no point in this game can you target your opponent's economy or bases with any structures. Also, the Kings have a standard 45% bonus to make this game fair. It's currently 8, but it turns into 7 versus 22, so you need that bonus. Quickly putting it out there, this is another King of the Hole. We didn't bother inverting the map, as we sometimes do, because it can break the game. And so that I don't break this cast, I have Pradeth here holding my hand.
Hello and welcome everybody. As Twig said, we have the dynamic duo of Tank Tom and I on one side. We are the perfect pair, and I guess we've got a spare on the other side, taking the form of Twig. It's nice to get us all in the one crater. I'm looking forward to trying my best to become King of the Hole. This is a position that is, in my opinion, one of the best forms of King of the Hill. But the peasants have been severely favored with these big matches. When you throw 22 people at a problem, it tends to be pretty rough for the 8 in the hole. My attempt in this one is going to be to try and eke out a win. Easiest way to do that is to try and get every one of the kings as aggressive as possible and try and take out these high positions. They tend to feel a lot safer, so they tend to go for a lot more eco, and they tend to push on through towards the end of the game. We've seen it a lot with that top left corner of the map, where we see Regeki right now. That side of the map tends to turn into an eco powerhouse and breaks the inner map. We'll see whether they can do it again this time, or if the combined AllReasonNoLogic team can manage to push their way through. A little bit of confusion in the start of this one. Quite a few people were not interested in reading the rules, and consequently getting a little bit of frustration, but we will manage.
Yeah, we've had one player drop out there, Tiny Terror, now taking over 2 bases, which I don't think was a terrible thing. Tiny Terror 35 OS, so definitely know what they're doing. Just a little bit more to micro when it gets to that point in time. Usually when we've got 8 people in the middle, we divide these centers up. Let's see if I can draw on this screen. There we go. So yeah, we usually break that up, and then you get 2 people in each quadrant. So really you get an eighth each. You can see there, didn't quite work out down in your area there, with the brown player seeping a little bit, taking a couple of your mixes by the look of things, but doesn't matter. These things happen.
It definitely turned into a bit of a grab bag down the bottom. Everyone just trying to get as much eco going as fast as possible, doing their best to manage. One of the areas that I definitely could have improved on is having a couple of extra builders going around to secure more of these mexes faster, but there is only so much APM to go around, and only so much resources.
I do like to always build at least 4 construction bots straight out of the get-go in these ones. I just want to have a look up in this corner. So Duffy and Regeki, 2 of probably the best King of the Hill players that we've seen in the months that we've been doing this. They do kind of give away their positions. They always seem to pick this corner up the top here. Sometimes over on this other side they go, but yeah, I did put myself over in this corner having a feeling they might be going up here, because I'm also quite experienced at this game mode. Definitely not as skilled as these guys, but I do have that King's advantage, so I'm going to try and get up there as quick as possible just to stop them doing their usual massive eco that usually is able to match the King's eco, even with that 45% bonus. You can see there they're already sharing out mixes to everyone, and yeah, we can see some sharing as well from whoever was over here building these extra mixes as well. So yeah,
it's 4 minutes 30, and they've already got 3 advanced mexes out of the 6 between them. That is actually pretty crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And their T2 lab, so this could be quite disgusting. If they went into units early, we could definitely be seeing something absolutely crazy, but my guess is that they will go more into the eco side of things.
I can see that the lab's being reclaimed, and there's only what, 1, 2, 3 T2 constructors. I would have probably given more out to these guys here before completely reclaiming it. I did see Chronographer give some metal up there, but hasn't got a T2 yet, so we'll see if he gets given one. Let's just have a little look around, see what else other people are doing. Plenty of wind. Wind is definitely pretty good to do here. You get that energy storage up. Wind tops out at 10 at 20, so very efficient when it sits up there above that average wind speed of 14.9 on this map. That's the way to go. And all bases looking pretty similar.
Yeah, comparing the Regeki and Duffy start to some of the other king positions, it's now 5 minutes 30, and we're just about to get a T2 down for that top right corner. The bottom right has just managed to get their T2 done. They've got one T2 mix, and the bottom left has just finished their lab as well, just getting that first T2 mix down. So we're talking
2 minutes, maybe?
A minute after Duffy and Regeki finished their T2 maxes, the other teams are just starting to get theirs.
Yeah, so those labs come down quick, and but communism really does work, just sharing that metal between people. Like I said, I think it was these 3 guys here. Just trying to learn the grid keys so I get these keys right. Yeah, these 3 guys here I'm pretty sure are sharing metal. I reckon this one here might have as well, but yeah, no T2 shared out to these guys, so a little bit greedy maybe, but they definitely know what they're doing. All right, let's have a look.
Coming down and having a quick look at my economy along with Tank Tom's, certainly going wind heavy. T2 mexes are well and truly on the field. And the T2 labs are coming up. Because of the frantic start, there was no T2 sharing in this one. Everyone sort of did their own thing and just trying to push it out as quickly as possible, trying to get to that fusion, trying to get to the very standard builds that we see out of the Kings.
And you can see that you guys definitely play together quite a bit, because look at that, Cortex going into Fiends.
See, this is too early to get the Fiends, in my opinion. 7 minutes. If you can get the same amount of Fiends out if you can get the fusion up by 8 minutes and rebuild the lab as you can if you go straight into the Fiends, because the fusion provides that extra bit of eco required to keep all of your conversion going. And that's definitely my strategy. I'm also... Actually, I think I'm doing quite well on metal. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, actually, I've got my 6. Actually, I've got 7 mexes, which means that I'm 1 ahead of where I should be, which is quite the nice.
Just a couple construction turrets probably needed to be manually... It's odd they're just purposely focusing on what this build is doing here and not helping out the fusion reactor. I thought they prioritized some of those bigger builds, but I could be wrong.
It's good and bad, because I definitely need the conversion, and because I'm not getting all of the value possible out of the wind. Though I definitely should have gotten myself a an energy storage. That would have helped with the opening and closing of these converters, would have made them slightly more efficient. As you can see, fusion up by just after 8 minutes, getting the lab back, and going to go straight into units from there.
Very Cortex heavy down here in the King's hole. Only myself Armada, and then the brown player Armada. Everyone else is Cortex by the looks. Yeah, I find the tactic in this map, like when it's a hole and not a hill, getting those spiders out by the what is it, the 10-minute mark, really does help. But of course, when you get to T3, those Kargis absolutely dominate as well.
That's very true, but the defenses that can be wielded by the peasants, if they haven't done massive eco and gone into a big push, are really not that great. And so by getting a bunch of fiends, and also one of the things I do is I hide them with a deceiver, so that even if there is a high ground radar, there's no way to actually see how many units I'm getting.
Yeah, you can see.
Might give the false sense of security.
You can see some of the peasants going into heavy defenses, some going into units, but you would want to see it about the 8.5 minute mark, peasants changing their build from economy into just units, just so that there's enough out at that point in time, because you've only got 7 kings. you want to make sure that you can just combat that first wave of units that are being pushed. You can see myself, you and Tank Tom all turn to units at the 9-minute mark. Plenty of build power with the Kings. What have I got there? Yeah, I've got 2 T1 labs and then another T2 lab supported by that 12, 14 construction turrets. Just
that is
as we...
the 10-minute mark, so we are definitely a go. And right now, pushing up the hill, I'm going with 33 Fiends, which is going to hurt.
Definitely is going to hurt. Imagine if you went down this path over here. Green, absolutely no defenses, no units. So it's kind of like a... just, yeah, you're buying a lottery ticket if you're a peasant and you don't get attacked straight off the get-go. Getting out of the greed for that little bit longer, but you've definitely got enough beans to just absolutely mop up this, and I'm going to see a fallen base straight away. No one helping out in this corner here. You can see these 2 players in the background really should be getting some units down here to prevent this falling, because if one falls or all falls, you're just going to sweep through. So I'm just going to look over here. I definitely struggled at the start of the game with spiders. There were a lot of towers in all avenues, and one of those hindsight things, I think I almost got through, and then I thought there must have been more.
I mean, if you'd gone up, same thing, if you'd gone up basically any other path, you would have done a lot better.
Yeah.
But you just can't know that as a king. You do your best with what you've got.
And you see Regeki, you see the lavender colour, and you're like, oh, I'm probably not going to attack there right now, because there's going to be some pretty good damn micro against me. So I tried to stay over here, but luckily I do have another 8 of these spiders, the recluse, coming up, and they do outrange the twin guards. They don't quite outrange the wardens though, so I decided to start focusing on them, trying to micro them when I'm not in my base, trying to increase my eco. You can see dropping down my second APHIS now. Pink doing very well, having taken the extra economy, got a ton of spam up and going into the second APHIS as well, with also 1 fusion. Nicely done by Tiny Terror.
Coming back to my side, we've just had 1 base basically completely wiped out. Then I moved my units over to assist Tom with his push and clear out the energy and the conversion in the back of the base to give him a free line up. Now I'm just continuing on up with the Fiends, unfortunately giving the opponents some time to get defenses up. Again, you have to pick a direction to push in, and I seem to continuously push into the most defended area.
Yeah, it's hard unless you get some radars up there. You're not going to really know, and it's just one of those things. Holding down that build Q spacebar and just putting a radar bot in there every now and then does help, or do a big queue of like 20 fiends and then 1 radar bot. But I mean, King of the Hill, you don't really need to worry about those sort of things. It's just get as many units out there as quick as possible and get the job done before the peasants catch up on that eco.
One of the things you got to remember with this is just about to detonate a bunch of fiends into their fiends. Massively good clear just there.
Yeah. These fiends might just run on by, actually.
Nice thing about being a king with the eco is that you can out-eco any one individual player. So even though that was potentially a terrible exchange for me, as long as the green player has no army, it doesn't overly matter because my replenishments are coming and his are not.
I'm liking that we're seeing these grunts coming out as well. Tiny Terror doing really good at getting spam to go everywhere. I'm just going to jump. We're playing a little bit of tennis across the match here. I've managed to get those recluses across the top, and now going to take out. We can see a fight command just so I can look away for a little while and take some of them to take out a little bit more of a bigger economy on this left hand side, and then focus on trying to take out these. I forgot I've sent these sprinters up here. I did get a few through. This Grunt player here, Grunt Clan well known, has built the wind turbines a little bit too close together, and they're just going to train react just like those converters did in the top corner there. His sprinter's nice and fast, but I'm not keeping up with the micro there.
One of those moves you make to try to help boost the economy early on, but it can be massively detrimental. You can lose a big chunk of your economy later on, so sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it is not. Looks like those recluses managing to get a kill on one of the commanders, and doing what they do best, which is just skirmishing. These units are great for the siege, they're great to be left on fight commands, and because they can attack from strange avenues, they're great for getting up and getting past defenses. they looks like they're going to be cleaned up by a mix of the Rocketeers and the Fiends, but they've done well and truly enough damage to justify their cost.
Have a look at Tank Tom. He's playing a little bit differently than usual. He's usually doing the Fiend push, but he's just gone straight into Sheldon's, and it seems to have paid off for him this game. Just attacking at range, going up, I think up against. Well, there was a T2 economy here. It's going to say a lot of T1 bots, maybe, so outranging them. And you guys have done very nicely, I'd say. Better than any other king at this stage of the game, pushing out at least 3 players there.
Gotta try and keep him on the back foot, and while all this is going on, just continuing to scale. I've gone up from a single fusion to 2, getting a 3rd one now, and starting to build some APHIS resource centers, getting those ready to go up as soon as the 3rd fusion is ready to go. Got to make sure that you put plenty of metal into the units to keep the players on the back foot, but also scale that economy. That plus 45% means that you're really doubling down on some of the... You really end up doubling down on some of the bonuses. So, for example, 45%, you get an additional 45% power, but then conversion, when you convert it, you can essentially power 2 converters off of a single fusion, both of which also give you 45% more. So it's a nice little... very large amount of scaling when you start being a king. But if you scale too hard and don't keep the peasants down, then their combined forces can keep up with you, and their combined APM and attack avenues can push you well on out of the middle of the map, as we've seen many times on this map.
I don't love tanks going into 2 APHISes at the same time. I think that must be an accidental misclick up there. And that's going to take quite some time for those to come online. But
yes,
it's got enough wind and metal coming in at least. You can see 138 there, plenty to still fund the massive amount of Sheldons, which are now being countered by lonely ticks, which are doing quite well because there's nothing else mixed into this composition, and ticks are going to beat Sheldons. They're going to get,
which is an absolutely crazy thing to see. Ticks are surprisingly good at beating everything.
Even something like a Razorback. I did see one day yourself and Tank Tom testing out the Razorbacks versus ticks. If you were to spend the exact same amount of metal for a Razorback and tick, and what was the result there? It was easily the ticks won against one Razorback.
Yep, and then it gets so much worse for the Razorbacks as you scale. If you have 5 metal worth of ticks versus 5 Razorbacks worth of metal in ticks versus 5 Razorbacks, the ticks win even harder.
Speaking of Razorbacks, I've just taken one up into the top corner of the map. It's almost dead, 20%. I was about to control D it because I didn't, or control B for grid keys, as I've learned recently, as I didn't want to lose the metal or give them the option to reproduce. And look,
are you going to get that build power?
Yeah, I think I go for that on
yes!
purpose.
Losing the build power as a peasant is absolutely decimating. And you're going to get the conversion too. And will you get the lab? It looks like you're going to get the lab before the Razorback comes out. This is devastating. Some of the best players in the game are getting blunted, and it looks like they might even lose their fusion and build power too, which they do. This is a big setback. They might still have the APHIS, but without that build power, the scaling will stop.
And right now, I've got my teammate in my quadrant, Singularity, going through with a bunch of Span Fiends and Grunts. Great combination there just to keep the numbers up and take out everything, so really helping out in that top corner with a few more of these Razorbacks.
The welders and the snipers being pulled off the front line to deal with your Razorback have definitely allowed the spam to come through.
Yeah, Pink's doing really well here as well. The Razorback, the T3 of the game so far. We've also got a Thor here though, and
that's
a
crazy.
Karganath. So Tiny Terror, having taken the uppercuts and the dropped outs base, gets both Armada and Cortex.
That makes sense. Yeah, getting a Thor backed up by catapults had me perplexed for a moment, because that's a lot of metal investment by this stage of the game. It's definitely possible as kings to go into these bigger, heavier units, but it's not always what you would. Expect. We usually see a lot more in the form of Razorbacks and tier 2 units at this point.
Taken taken apart easily by those sharpshooters, but then the sharpshooters just absolutely cannot handle this number of units. So it was a lose-lose situation there.
Got to keep pushing through with that spam. Spam is so critical for both sides. In this situation, you either have to match spam with spam, or you have to be able to push through with your spam.
Rakusha, one of the regulars, you can see the AllReasonNoLogic logo in the background there. If you join the Discord and become a member that regularly participates in our events at King of the Hills, and then just gets on and gets in the chat with us regularly, you get one of these in the background to appear in these videos. And they do change depending what you've achieved in the channel. We've got some tournaments, so we'll see some tournament winner logos come up for whoever wins those. Yeah, you've got a few units happening.
Yeah, I've been trying to assault. This is actually a surprisingly good defense. It forces me onto each side, and then I've been getting picked off by the gunslingers, welders, and the large number of pit bulls that are up there. I really should be attacking elsewhere, but I just had this worry that I was up against a player that was ecoing very hard up here. One of the things that you're seeing right now is the gunslingers absolutely decimating my pawns. I'm not actually super worried about that, because I want these to be out of position. I want these to be pushed out, and I want my spam to build up, so I wasn't overly concerned. And every time I try to go in, he's been backing out, so I've been trying to wait till he makes a micro mistake, because I can afford to lose these resources. I'm building 3 APHIS at a time and extra resource centers, so I'm just not overly concerned. And I think this right here is the moment where he overcommits, and I get to swarm his gunslingers and absolutely break on through, which is exactly what I was trying to get.
Spectator drawing up here in the corner here. Looks like we're near his cursor. Saying, yeah, I reckon a good tactic there. A couple of termites might have snuck up and taken out that economy quite easy. Not a bad idea.
I got to change strategies, but...
Well, we do have the RT3 lab coming up. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Kagi or two, which would also do the same thing. But you guys have pretty much cleared your quadrant. The top right, really the only remaining area on the map. They've done very well to defend against these kings up here. 3 very well defended bases, some advanced fortifications in there as well to stop any T2 pushing through. But things are looking pretty healthy right now, with a 200 and whatever percentage of metal constantly changing depending on reclaim advantage.
And here we go, switching targets.
Big, that is a lot of Kagis.
Switching targets to clear out this last area over here. With the Kagis coming up, not super concerned about fighting that top section anymore. Just want to make sure that the side is completely won. Looking over at Pink, who took over the player that left. His Kagis well and truly into that last fortification of green. An interesting position to build. It certainly lasted a long time, and with those high ground defenses would have made it hard for units to come up the back and for the units to push on in. Nicely defended by a shield, but it does look like enough is going to start pushing in and dealing that damage.
Location for these fusions, just having that economy in amongst this many towers, nicely done, but I don't think it's got much chance against this many Kagis.
Definitely not.
Let's have a look up here, the last quarter of the map. You can see red pushing through that Razorback. Those Razorbacks do so well in King of the Hill. Very versatile unit. Even takes out air, not that we have it turned on.
I rate the Razorback over the Shiva in King of the Hill, but I rate the Fiend over any other unit as an opener.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you have a great avenue of attack with the Spiders, but even then, I still think that I'd go the Fiends, because the defensive capability of the Fiends is also very, very large, and one of the areas we talked about how I attacked the most heavily defended and highest unit count area. For me, that's almost a good thing, because it means that there's no offense coming.
I've been struggling over here to break this line. There's just been so many units, but finally these recluses. I've gone back to recluses after everything. The Shivas, the Razorbacks all fell to this base here. We had so many Scorpion turrets, just mow them down. I was terrible at microing these. But yeah,
one of the things which has let you finally push into this side Tank Tom has been relentless attacking over here. This team has not been able to give an inch and go offensive or change anything, because Tank Tom has just been getting spam up there, Fiends up there, Sheldons up there, just constantly whittling them down and not letting them ever scale, because they're constantly having to build units to defend him. So even though he wasn't fully able to take out this top quadrant on his own, the damage his units did and the pressure that his units put on never allowed them to scale. In fact, there was no corner that was allowed to scale, which is, I think, one of the reasons that the Kings have done so well this time. The peasants were not able to put pressure on the Kings, or what, not necessarily weren't capable. They didn't put pressure on the Kings, and the Kings pressured every single corner relentlessly through the game.
Yeah, it's very odd as well. Well, not odd. It was probably lower OS things than we usually see in this game. Obviously, the three of us have a bit of experience, but all the other Kings did really good to step up and play the game exactly right. Everyone had units right at the 10-minute mark and just kept that pressure on just to make sure every entrance was covered and that the peasants couldn't get down into the hole. And that's how you really want to play as a King. You can see there.
Something which is definitely worth.
Nicely done.
I don't want to diminish the power of the Peasants team, though. They did have Rigeki and Duffy. Both players have proved in King of the Hills that their OS in team games is absolutely true when it comes to King of the Hill as well. Some of the best players in the world right there. But one of the things that I do want to jump into is the damage dealt graph. If you look at the damage dealt graph, Twig, both you and I and Tom, in that first, all the way up to like that 15-minute mark or so, were absolutely dominating that damage dealt graph. That's one of the key contributors to why the Kings won. I'm not saying it's because it's us, it's just the early aggression. Whichever team has the highest damage early tends to be the team that wins. And if you just never let off the pedal, and this is where the other Kings started kicking into gear as well, it's where some of the peasants started kicking into gear as well, but none of the highly aggressive Kings or peasants let off the pedal once they started going aggressive, and that's what wins games more than anything else, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at the colours here for those peasants that did quite well with their economy. Yeah, you can see here going into the, where are we? Metal produced, energy produced. You can see this green line here. That is Duffy. Second highest metal produced up at 18, 19 minutes in the game. And same with the energy produced. You'll see it's quite high there. That's just insane for a peasant. It's just like having a king outside of the circle. Duffy definitely finds ways to boom with that economy. Maybe just the tiniest bit greedy though. I think that was 2 aphises up when I got the Razorback into the base. If that was maybe a Razorback out
2
by him.
aphises up, it was 6.
Was it? It was 2, wasn't it?
They had 6 aphis up.
Yeah, so if they went to maybe 3 and put out a couple of defensive Razorbacks, I doubt I would have been able to break that line for so long. I didn't have many Razorbacks myself. It was that one. That was my first Razorback, and that one there was just, I made sure I microed it. Getting ready to control D as well, because you can be sure if you lose a T3 early in the game, someone's going to get a ton of Resbucks up there and turn it around with that little resurrection halo on its head, which I hate seeing. I do it too often. I played a game
with you recently where my entire push was blunted by 5 of your dead Razorbacks.
Yeah, exactly that. I just did the typical fight command, looked away, and then attention was elsewhere, and all of a sudden, yeah, where'd those stream of spam units? Oh, sorry, the spam that you were sending across the map just disappears. Oh well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. It's definitely a fun one. All of these King of the Hill games have just been so fun lately, and thank you so much to the mods and devs that jump in and help us out to make these even more fun for more people all at once, just like we saw on Sunday gone. If you want to be part of them, join the Discord. The link is in the description down below, and also hit that like and subscribe if you kindly would for the YouTube channel.
Thanks everyone for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.